Mom stole my car so sis can use it while getting divorced, thinking I won't call the cops. Aita. Story 1. WIPTA for reporting my mom and sister for stealing my car. I 24 am live with my mom in a rural part of the USA. For context, when it comes to my sister 37, she is much older and we come from different fathers and both grew up in split custody arrangements. We are not particularly close, almost acquaintances more so than siblings. I don't really feel any familial connection. Even though I love her, I don't feel obligated to bend backward for her. Will's sister lives 2 hours away in a much more urban area and is currently going through a divorce. Her and her ex-husband only had one vehicle and it belongs to the ex-husband, so when they split he took the car. Sister has 4 daughters and works a full-time job. I on the other hand work from home and have no real external responsibilities. My mom came to me asking if my sister could borrow my car for a couple of months until the divorce is finalized, so she has a way of transporting her and her kids to wherever they need to be without the financial burden of purchasing another car or relying exclusively on ride sharing. 16 or 18, I was basically immobile except occasionally being allowed to drive my mom's car, or when my dad had me I could get Ubers. Getting my own vehicle was extremely liberating, minus the loan, and I don't feel trapped at home, so when I was approached with this proposal I flat out said no. I can totally understand the justification for letting her use my car for a couple months, but aside from the fact I don't want to lose my newfound sense of freedom, I also just don't want someone else driving my car, and maybe that's selfish of me. Over the last few days my mom and sister have been trying to convince me to let her use the car, saying that she would pay for the car payment while she has the car, or that she'd pay for insurance if she has it longer than anticipated. No matter what they brought to the table, I kept saying no, much to their dissatisfaction. To this morning, I realized that my mom isn't home. I opened our garage to see that her car was still there, but mine was not. I immediately know what has happened and call my mom about the situation. She just tries to calm me down and have me try to picture it from my sister's point of view, but I'm just flushed with rage and instead just tell her that I'm going to report the vehicle as stolen instead. She just hung up the phone. As of now I presume my car is down with my sister, and I am seriously considering reporting it stolen and naming her and my sister as perpetrator and conspirator. I really don't want it to go that far, and I hope that we could instead work this out, but what I initially said is an angry threat and starting to really consider as an option. I just don't know if it's worth burning so many bridges over a car, but the fact that my family won't respect my boundaries or my property is so frustrating. Whipto for reporting my mom and sister for stealing my car. Ended up giving mom and sister ultimatum to return car by 5 p.m. and if they didn't I would be reporting them to the police, and if that they did I would let bygones be bygones and move on and move out. I even offered pitching a bit to help sister get a new vehicle. Car has been returned, so the police will not need to get involved. However, there is body damage that wasn't there the last time I used it. Can't tell if it was intentional damage or not, but it honestly doesn't matter. Tick attached. We'll be getting all relevant papers in order, and then we'll buy lawyering up so the damages are paid for. As soon as this entire situation is resolved I will be moving out. I have learned to never keep my keys out ever again. Thanks so much everyone for your input and advice. To address a lot of the comments I was getting from the initial post. Mom has her own car, but doesn't want to lend hers out because she needs it for work every day. I had offered to let her use mine for work and she lend out her car to sister, but she refuted this idea saying that she doesn't feel comfortable driving my car and that she needs ample space for medical supplies. She is an in-home nurse. I am well aware that my living situation will change if I call the police on my mom and sister, but honestly the living situation is already compromised. Regardless of the resolution, I will be moving out as immediately as possible, as I am financially stable enough to do so. This whole thing is just the straw that broke the camel's back. I have been getting a lot of comments regarding living for free at my mother's house. We split bill 60-40 on basically everything. It's not truly 50-50, but absolutely by no means am I freeloading at my mom's house. Caught wife cheating. Now what about her kids? Caught straw cheating with ex. I have bonded. With her kids, what to do with them? Really long sorry. Had to get it out. I am 52, lost first wife 10 years ago. At the time 2 daughters now, 21 and 24. Life went on after about 3 years. I met current wife, 38. Met innocently enough. Basically kept bumping into her various places around town. Never really talked. Sometimes made eye contact. We would point at each other at a distance and just smile. Then one day getting my car worked on, she walked into the waiting room while hers was worked on also. So we finally had a long conversation. We went across the street to get real coffee as service centers was bad. We talked about an hour, then I was paged mine was done. I asked if she would like to do lunch one day to continue talking. We exchanged numbers and a day to meet up. We dated 2 years, then married. She has 2 boys now 10 and 14. They moved into my house, been living with her parents for 3 years. My girls loved her, not as a stepmom but as a big sister. Although having another adult in the house with 2 teenage girls was a blessing. Life is grand. I love those boys as if we're my own. I want to adopt them when they can make a decision on their own. The little one calls me dad. The oldest, it was awkward. I told him to call me what he felt comfortable. My first name, the girls called her by her name. Wife is Tom. We decided until kids were adjusted. Now she doesn't want to work, but does volunteer at school lunch and other things. Daughter 1 goes off to college, is now graduated. The younger daughter grabbed this past morning. We are moving the rest of her things this weekend. I was told her ex abandoned them about the time. Baby number 2 came along and has been no contact since. Her mom is very nice, but holds me at arm's length. He is an alpha dog. I don't think he wanted anyone else taking care of his daughter, only child and grandkids. He would berate me because I was too old, not much younger than them. This would be any time I was around them. I am non-confrontational, so I told wife I would just stay away from them. I did encourage her to continue relationship, as they only live a couple blocks away. February this year her ex reappears, wants to be in their lives. He is sketchy at best. I cannot refuse this. He starts coming around often. I set a boundary that he comes on weekends so as not to interfere with school, and we can control his visitation somewhat. He comes most weekends, but really spends little time alone with the kids as we try to give him space. I asked wife if he made any child support payments while he was gone. No. I suggested to her to talk to him about getting caught up of whatever he owes, and to ask about signing over rights so I could adopt. She said she would talk to him. First part of March our sex life starts to dive. You know where this going, right? But I am oblivious. I mentioned to wife, she has the usual excuses. I notice little things around the house are different. My favorite snacks are gone, missing a few bers, not a big drink or just one every now and then. But the big one was I could smell what I thought was weed. I asked why if she was smoking, as we don't, she hasn't. I thought the now 14 years old was, suggested we talk with him. She says she would handle it. About 2 weeks ago 14 years old asks me if I love mom. I said yes, thinking he has a girlfriend. Time for a talk, right? He says that we always sat together and were touching each other some way or other. This made him feel good. He asks if mom loved his dad. I responded that sure, on some level she does. Why asking? He replies that they are always looking at each other, talking and touching, and he is over all the time. I ask what he meant by all the time. Almost every day when they get home from school he is there then leaves. That weekend I am in the living room, he is over for visitation. He comes in and sits down across from me with a beer. I look up for my rating and tell him to help himself to a beer. He says nothing. I ask why isn't he with the kids. I could hear laughing coming from the family room. He said he might go in a little bit. I tell them I will not drink in front of the kids. I wait until after they are in bed. He says nothing. He then states, you know I am only here for her. What does that mean? You're talking about my wife. He says technically not divorced, he never signed papers, so she is his wife. I know a judge signed off on divorce because he could not be found. That's why it took longer to divorce. I finally asked about the child support since I never heard back. He just looked at me and said that you was caught up, paid her $15,000 in cash. WTF. I asked then if she talked to him about giving up rights. Never ask. He asked what would it be worth to me. I said you got to be kidding, you would sell your kids. Before he could answer I told him to leave. The next day, this past Sunday, the kids were at grandma and grandpa with wife. I bought and installed a camera. I put it on top of the TV. Very small. It has a view of the front door and living room. Motion activated. Nothing unusual until Wednesday about 10 a.m. I get alert on phone when the camera activates. So I'm at work, I get a notice, figure it's the wife cleaning up. I look anyways. He comes back. She lets him and they kiss, long. He starts grabbing at her, she playfully pushes away. They're laughing, no sound. He sits on the couch, she brings him a beer and snacks. 10 a.m. she disappears. She's back a few minutes later, clothes changed, she is going to school for lunch. They are talking, more grabbing, more pushing away, laughing. A few minutes later she is up getting ready to leave. He gets up, grabs her again, making some gestures, then poses like he is praying, hands together. They sit down again, she gives him head. She finishes up, goes out of range, comes back, says something, then leave. He then watches TV, then he takes a nap. Screen eventually goes blank. A little after 1 p.m. another alert, she is home. They talk, they both leave room. I know they are headed to bedroom. I race home and find them. They never heard me coming. There is the hysterics you would expect. He slithers out. I tell her she has to go. She pleads it was a one-time mistake, he had just got there. She was lowly because we weren't having sex, etc. I called BS. I asked how often he came over, just the weekends. This was an anomaly. I showed the video of him napping. She said he was tired and asked. Then I showed her the BJ. She had nothing to say. I told her to pack her bag, shoes out. I left and called her dad to take them, and we were having issues. He of course take alpha position, telling me how I would screw this up, yada yada. I couldn't get a word in. Finally I stopped him, asked again, he said yes, then started on me again. I had enough. I said I would send him something. I sent the video edited down to BJ. I told him to view and call me back if I was wrong. Never heard back. Talked to lawyer Thursday. He helped with estate plan after first wife. Referred me to a partner who does family law. Will meet Tuesday. Divorce will happen. He fell but did not know for sure that I would be on the hook for support for kids. No alimony since she broke our prenup. I made it up before marriage in addition to estate plan to protect my girls. I don't care about the support, glad to do it. It's the boys. So my question or advice needed: has anyone else been through divorce and was able to see their ex's kids, even if they are no yours? How did that go? The 14 years old is partially vulnerable as he will be in next year formative years. I don't want to see him go down the tube and turn out like that. Thanks to all in advance. Caught my wife cheating. What about our kids? I informed the ex that we would divorce and made arrangements for visitation. Sorry, this update might be jumbled. I originally updated in the wrong sub. This is the umpteenth time I have written this out. Each time it's shorter. I'm not sure how to cross post, so I am retyping. Bear with me. Last week was a busy week with daughter grad, moving her home, kids sports starting, lawyer, and the first face-to-face with wife. Got home Sunday, put daughter's stuff from out in garage. I get a call early evening from 14 years old. Dad, what's going on? No one is talking to us. Mom and grandma are crying. Grandpa's yelling. Is this because of what I told you? I assured him that his mom made a bad mistake, that he had nothing to do with this mess. He asked if I was packing up their stuff because he saw the U-Haul in the driveway. I explained what happened and that all their stuff was remained there. Monday and Wednesday were sports nights. Family sits in bleachers while I stand behind home plate backstop. My usual spot since I don't see eye to eye with Phil. On the way across the field, the oldest stops his warm-up and rubs over to me. We hug and talk a few minutes, then send him back. As I get my spot, I have a 10-year-old crash into me at full speed. I bend down, hug and kiss him all over as he is squirming away. My Phil asks if we could talk. We step away from your shot. He apologizes for the way he has treated me in the past and that he was wrong. Well, a little late, but I accepted and said I knew that it was a hard thing for him to do. He invited me to sit with him. I declined. He asked if I wanted to talk to wife. I said Thursday would be better. Do we set 10 in place? Tuesday comes meet with lawyer. I told him the whole story. He knew from his partner but wanted to hear from me. He asked what I wanted to do. I wanted to stay with the boys, then stay married. The boys were most important. He stated in his experience that the marriage would be a charade and not good for the boys. We could work out a visitation if wife is willing. As far as support, he said I could do what I wanted for the boys, not to give her anything for me to control. The prenup was solid. She violated conditions, no support. He cautioned though that judges around the country have in some instances ordered child support in my case due to being in their lives so long. He did not think our judges have ruled that way in TKI past, but you never know. He was sure her attorney would seek support. He suggested that we try to agree on everything we could before court, that the judge would look favorably on us. Before leaving, he told me that every Monday morning the partners meet to discuss new and ongoing cases. My previous attorney started out describing everything. Each partner has a specialty: estate planning, elder law, criminal, liability, family. Later in TKIPM, the criminal lawyer meets up with my attorney. After the meeting, he called a contact in the prosecutor's office. The $15,000 did not seem right. How do folks in the middle class have $15,000 in cash laying around? Turns out X did not abandon them. He was in jail. He was released 3 years ago. When feds were releasing non-violent criminals to ease overcrowding, etc., he was sure the police would be interested if he was back and practicing his profession again. But he did not have any other info but the jail time. Thursday I meet with Y then Phil. I asked if they minded if I recorded so there would be no misinterpretation matter. They agreed. Before we started, Y wanted to talk privately. Phil moved to another room. Y started to apologize. I cut her off. I said, before you say anything, know that I know a lot more than you think. I asked how long in contact. Since February. I asked if she met up anytime before him appearing. She said no. In contact since February. I asked if she met up any time before him appearing. She said no. I then told her he had been out for 3 years. The look on her face told me she did not know. We get Phil back in. Turn on recorder. I asked if she had a lawyer. No. Told her to get one because a divorce will happen. They both asked if something along reconciliation could take place. I said no. I said I wanted the boys. She could live with X. I told her. I repeated for Phil. We settled on the boys could see me anytime within reason. She would not keep me from them. I said I would provide at my choosing. She would get no support. I did not want her getting the boys to ask me for things. They would be honest if I asked. There you have it.